So now we want to set up our email marketing. This is going to be a really great way to improve our conversions in the future at a much lower cost because once somebody buys once, they're very likely to be a customer in the future as well. They liked what you sold, they resonated with you in some way. And so by capturing their email when they're purchasing from you or just from your website in general, you will be able to remarket to them when you come out with new products in the future, or if you have new sales, or maybe just for their birthday, you want to give them a discount, different things like that you can have set up. And there's a lot of different ways we could set that up. In the past, I might have used MailChimp. There's also Klaviyo. In this video, we're going to be using Omnisend. It's very well integrated with Shopify. It's really like the MailChimp for e-commerce. So it's really meant for Shopify, for selling. And obviously, this is going to be an email marketing platform with a lot of very powerful automations as well. So to get started with this, we're going to go to link number 7 down below. Link number 7 is going to be Omnisend. So it's santrailmedia.com/Omnisend, which is OMNI, like Omni, and then send, SEND, like you're sending something, and that'll take you to this page right here. So Omnisend is going to be, like I said, a really e-commerce focused thing that also does SMS, so you can text people as well. Very useful in my opinion. And so we can start off, for free, and we can upgrade in just a second. We're going to sign up with Shopify. It'll connect to our store very easily. So we'll just say install. We're going to click install again. And then we can create a password and enter some of our basic information here as well. And we'll say get started. Obviously go to your inbox and verify your email account. It's going to be a crucial step here. And now it's going to create our account with Omnisend. So kind of a quick little crash course on how this works. We're going to start off by adding our logo. So we'll click on logo. We're going to upload from computer, browse files. We'll add our logo here and then we can select it. That looks pretty good. If you can see on the right side, so it kind of cropped it out weirdly on the left, but on the right side, that's what it would really show you. Kind of looks good, actually. I don't really mind that. As far as the accent color goes, you can change all of these. You can add your own custom colors as well. So what I like to do, if you don't know what your logo colors are, first of all, if you were using Canva, you can find out the logo colors fairly easily. But otherwise, if we just go to HTML color identifier, we can just do that and just choose something on Google. Like the first one looks fine. We can upload our photo, open the photo there, and then you can just hover over it. So right there, and then copy that color code. So that's called an HTML color code. That's going to be really useful to match your logo color on a lot of different, basically anything you're doing online. And so right here, accent color, I'm going to use that one. We're going to add that color as our accent color. Now you can see the button matches the logo. It looks a little more clean in my opinion. I personally really like that. And then black and white, I think that looks fine. Maybe we could, I don't know, let's see. It kind of looks good with blue there as well. It's kind of your choice, right? You can, if you have multiple colors, set up multiple colors. I'm going to leave it as that. That looks good enough to me. Now, as far as headings and the font, we can change these fonts as well. A lot of times there are font pairings, so sometimes people have a different font for the header and the paragraph. A lot of websites do that. For this, that looks clean, very easy to read. I think that's fine. Some brands might want to have a more specific font, so definitely look for one. Try to be consistent as well between your different websites and kind of having your own font used everywhere, but that one looks good enough. Arial, everybody's pretty used to that. Now we'll save the brand assets, and now Omnisend is suggesting we go through these 4 steps. I'm going to close out of that. The 4 steps are basically right here anyway. So you want to have a welcome email. That's definitely something we are going to set up. You'll probably want to set up an abandoned cart recovery. That's a really powerful tool. So if somebody goes to your site, they add something to the cart, and then whatever, their doorbell's, like somebody's at the door, they go over there, they forget about it, maybe they get a phone call, and they might end up not ordering from you, even though they were just about to do that. They added to the cart, but they never actually ordered. So abandoned cart recovery is just essentially reaching out to them again and saying, hey, you forgot to order this. Or maybe saying, hey, like, I know you put this in your cart, maybe you had second thoughts about it, here's 10% off. Just to kind of push that sale through and encourage it a little bit more. We'll clear out the notification. So now let's go to create a welcome email. So what discount do we want to add in our welcome email? 10%. Let's give people 10% off when they sign up. They join our email newsletter. We'll continue setup. We could use an SMS channel if you wanted to. Definitely look into your local laws. Obviously, SMS also costs some money too. So I'm going to go with only emails for now. I don't think you necessarily need SMS when you're getting started, but it could be a powerful tool depending on what you're selling. Like phone cases, obviously, might make a little more sense to do that than clothing. now our workflow is active. That was super easy. We'll go to show my workflows. The welcome email is right here. It's currently just a draft. So if we click on that, all right, so that brings us to our workflow. So this looks complicated, but essentially this is a flow chart. And as you go down, it's kind of the sequence of events. So the beginning is the on-ramp here. The subscribers enter the workflow when they sign up for an Omnisend form. They sign up through the form and they become like a member of your newsletter, more or less. Then it waits 1 minute and then it sends them an email and it says hello, or it says welcome to account name. So we have to set that up and choose our account name. It's going to be like Santrel Merchandise Fan Club or whatever. And then it says here's your 10% discount code. If we click on that, we can actually go and customize that a bit more over on the right side. And then down at the bottom, it says exit. But you can add other things in there as well. So you could say, okay, now maybe delay. So we can add another delay right there. Maybe we're going to wait a little bit. And we could split. We could split it right here. So kind of just going a little further, we could split it and have a bit of an if statement. If you've ever done any coding, that's what this would more or less be called. But essentially you're saying you can have an either or. You can have if they placed an order, then exit. If they did not place an order, send them another email with maybe another discount, right? So we could say maybe like if we could say message behavior, if they opened the email and then we choose the first email, we'll say save. So if they did open that first email, then maybe we want to send them another email. So we could say yes, then send them another email right here. If they did not open that email, we can tag the contact here and we could tag them as some tag. We'll create some new tags in a minute, but maybe we're going to tag them as unresponsive or maybe uninterested or accidentally subscribed, and you could even unsubscribe them as well. So that's going to be a more complicated workflow, but you kind of see how you're able to build this out, and there's really a lot of options for what you can do between splitting. You can have A/B testing as well. So you could have 2 different emails and you can run an A/B test where maybe every other person gets sent email A or email B, and then you can see what the open rates were. You're actually able to see percentage of people who opened the email as well as percentage of people who clicked on links. So you can really learn a lot more using an A/B test. This can become a massive flowchart. That's kind of why they give you this little grid paper background, because it's really endless options on what you could do. Now, if we click on the 3 dots on any of these, we can delete them. I'm going to simplify this workflow. We don't need all of these things. Let's start off with just the welcome email as they gave it to us before. So we don't need to wait another minute. That doesn't really make sense. That's unnecessary. Now on the bottom, the campaign here, we could say welcome to, and then let's replace account name with Santrel Merch Shop. Welcome to the Santrel Merch Shop Club. Pre-header, that is going to be what shows up below the subject line. Essentially in their inbox, they'll see that. Not necessarily the context of the email, but they'll see that as the subline right there. So it'll say, hey, here's 10% off your first order to celebrate you joining us. And then the sender's name, Santrel Shop, sender's email address, that is where they're going to be able to reply. And then down here, we can click on edit content. Now we want to save. So yes, save, publish changes. And that'll bring you over to the email. So this is how we can actually edit the email. So we actually don't need to set anything up on the back end. So right now, the discount code, it's just automatically going to happen. We don't need to worry about that. So right here, it says welcome aboard. You can change the text right here, change the font if you wanted to. Let's at least center our logo. I think that would look a little bit better. We can reduce that padding as well, down to maybe 5. So we can center things. We can add some more text on here. Let's say finish editing. And now that's pretty much ready to go. So we can save this, or we can start the workflow. I'm going to click Start Workflow. But if you remember, that had a couple things. It had a form in the beginning. It had lists that people were on, and it had a welcome email. So we need to customize those things right now. Starting off with forms, we're going to click on Forms on the top, and we have kind of a default form that'll give us in the very beginning. And so we can click on Preview Launch Form. All right, and there is our form right now. Get 10% off your first order and be the first to hear about our new products. Enter your email, 10% off, and then powered by Omnisend on the bottom. I mean, there's not a whole lot else I would want to change there. Maybe you could add an image. This is going to be a pretty straightforward editor, though, very familiar to what we've seen on a lot of other platforms out there. But on the left side, we have some items that we can use here. So if we want a radio button, we can click and drag that over and drop it there. And so the radio button could ask something about somebody. It could be gender, it could be political party, it could be whatever you think is relevant to your products. You can add that. Similarly, we can add a checkbox. Some people like to do this and just say, have one option there, and just say like, please sign up for our email, or like confirm that you're signing up for our email. That's kind of something that some places, some like regions do require that. So look into your local laws on that one. Usually Omnisend kind of helps you and understands that for you. But let's just say we want to add maybe an image right here. So let's add an image, maybe right here. We're going to upload an image, and then maybe this image. So let's select file on the right side. So maybe we need, maybe like the phone case would be a pretty good one here. We can go with that. So we can just kind of resize it, make that a little smaller. And I mean, I don't know, that's not the best, but that's kind of an idea of how you could add an image right there. In addition, we can also add a link to that image. So if somebody clicked on that image, it could take them over to the product. That might be a really good idea there. And on the bottom, we have our padding. So you kind of see that space around all edges there. We can change that. So if you want to make it 0, there's a little bit less padding on the top and the bottom and the right and left side. Well, that doesn't really matter on the right and left side, but top and bottom is going to matter for this one. We also have a ton of other options on the left side, so I kind of just want to recommend you play around with this for a little bit, but email is going to be one, so that we already have down there, enter their email. But if you didn't already have that, if you're building one from scratch, definitely add email. Actually, they have the legal consent button separately over here, so you don't need to make it a radio button. It kind of is right here. So if you just go and paste that like right there, there's a little checkbox that says the same thing, like that is what it is. Like it is, you're signing up for an email newsletter. We can add input, we can add date, drop down, different text, different buttons. We can have a wheel of fortune as well. I don't recommend, please don't do wheel of fortune, but it is something you can have if you're trying to, I don't know, like people can win discounts or whatever. To me, that is incredibly scammy. I would never personally click on that, but it is available. If you want it, a Wheel of Fortune is available right there. In addition, we can have different layouts. So if you wanted, like, maybe I don't like this, maybe I wanted 3 images there, I can click on 3 columns and click and drag that up. Maybe just put it right below that little section. And then here I can add like 3 different images. We'll just go to like this image, for example. Let's click and drag image over, and then image, and then image. Now we can have 3 images right there, just uploading each and one individually. So I think you get the idea of how this would really look. If we go over to enable now, we click on that on the top. This is now available. It's now a pop-up. It's ready to go. That is the type of this one, and that is going to be our form. So if you wanted to make another form, you can click on create form, and they have a lot of other templates here. Some of them look a lot better, honestly. Okay, I was not a fan of Wheel of Fortune, but that one looks a little better there. It's kind of like a purpley, cooler tone. I don't know. Maybe it could work. I don't want to talk too badly of the Wheel of Fortune, but yeah. Anyway, you can have different templates right here. So let's close out of this. So this pop-up right here, in order to make this actually appear, we have on the right side the behavior. So audience management, they're going to be tagged with form subscriber, welcome discount. That's what we want. They're going to be set up with that welcome discount. Scheduling, we want this always available, so always show it. You could do certain dates would make sense if you didn't want it to appear all the time. Maybe it's just a February discount. You can have it just for that month. So you can choose some display options as well. So it could be page visits. It could be they need to be on like their second page for this to happen. If they're clicking around a lot of things, it could be time on page. So maybe after they're on for 10 seconds, this could appear, right? We don't want to lose conversions by popping up immediately when people are on here. So maybe we have them on for like maybe 15 to maybe 30 seconds. That's enough time for them to look at it, think about it, and they think, all right, well, maybe I want to buy this, maybe I don't, and then you hit them with a, hey, you can get 10% off. And so that is more likely to convert them, and also you'll capture an email in the time as well. So you could have scroll depth is another idea. If you want to have them, like this can pop up when they scroll down 50% of the way on the page, or exit intent is another one. If it looks like they're moving up towards the exit, a pop-up could distract them and say, hey, wait, before you go, like we can give you a discount. Let's make this work. So let's update the live form. Just click on update. And now if we just go to centralmerchshop.com, let's see how this works. So it's going to take about 30 seconds for this to actually appear. And so we're scrolling around. Maybe we're looking at the FAQs. Let's check these out. And there we go. The pop-up just appeared. So you can see we really didn't have to do anything. Like Omnisend really set this whole thing up for us. And now I'm just going to sign up with my email. Say enter. it's asking for the phone number as well. I just click on, all right, it was asking for a phone number as well. I think I might get rid of that. I don't really like having the phone number request as well, just because it might deter people. They only want to give email. They don't want to give both. And they might be confused like, oh, do I have to give both in order for this to happen? So then if I go back to my inbox, so here it is, the email showed up. It gave me a little discount code. This is a custom code just for me as well. So if I click redeem discount, it takes us over to the store. I copied that discount code as well. So if I go to the checkout, so we're going to checkout, discount code, I can paste that. Let's paste that and apply it. And it works. Like, it does it all on the back end. So that's really why I like using Omnisend. It's really like a full stack, everything you need from setting up the discounts for you, to setting up the pop-ups for you, to managing everything. You just tell it from a really high level, like, hey, I want a welcome email. And it manages all of that so well for you. So I'm really impressed with this, just how seamless that actually worked. It feels much more professional. Definitely a value add to the website, not only making it look more professional, but also substantially more functional as a seller on the back end. Now, going back to Omnisend, there are a few more things we need to do. We can click on View Actions on the top. So for one, we need to have a domain. You need to add and authenticate a custom sender's domain. So we're going to click on Add Domain. Down here, we can add sender domain. So santralmerchshop.com, we'll say Continue. All right, so that'll bring you to this page here. This looks intimidating. Don't worry, I'll walk you through it. It's really quite easy to do. So if we go back to Shopify, we can go down to Settings on the bottom left. We can scroll down to Domains, and then within Domains, we can click on the one that we're actually using. So for me, santralmerchshop.com, just click on that. It'll bring you to a page that looks something like this. Now on the top right, you'll see something that says Domain Settings. We're going to click on that so we get a drop down, and we're going to click on Edit DNS Settings, Domain Name Server. That's really what that stands for. All right, so now we're going to start off by copying the first one, the SPF, and we're going to create a TXT record for this. So we'll say copy, we'll go back to Santral Domains, we're going to click on Add a Custom Record, TXT record. So for the name, we're just going to put a little @ symbol, and then for the TXT value, we're going to paste that, we'll say confirm. Now we have our first TXT value. Going back to Omnisend, here we have to make 2 more, so we have to make 1 more for DKIM. So we're going to copy this, that is the name, go back to here, we're going to say add custom record, this is going to be a TXT record, we're going to paste that name, and then we're going to go back and copy the value. So copy the value, click on Shopify again, and paste that in TXT record, we're going to confirm, and now let's add a third TXT record down here. We can scroll down for DMARC, we'll copy the name, go back to Shopify and paste that name. I'm going to have to blur a lot of this out, by the way. And then we're going to go to value, copy that value, and we're going to paste the value here. Now we're going to confirm that, and now all 3 have been added. We can go and verify the records. Sometimes it takes up to 24 hours, so don't be alarmed if it doesn't happen right away. I'm going to go back to, I'm just going to go and verify records. They're not there at the moment. It might take a couple minutes. So now that one's now added. This one will be here in a couple minutes. Just got to keep refreshing and verifying records. And then, like I said, it could take up to 24 hours. Usually it's much, much faster than that. Usually only a couple minutes. All right, so unfortunately for me, it's going to take more than a couple minutes for that to happen. So regardless, it's going to walk you through 2 more steps after this. They're really not especially difficult, and that's just kind of needed on the back end to be able to send using your domain. So the email is obviously not fraud. They don't want people to just set up this and like email on your behalf. You kind of have to verify that it is your domain, and so that's why they're going about doing this. So I'm going to go back to Santral Shop. I'm going to go back to Shopify rather for my shop. And I want to talk about what is on the left side, kind of a rundown on some of the more advanced tools. Now that we have our store more or less set up and kind of running on its own, we will want to know about customers for one. So when people are ordering, if they ever contact you, because you are going to be customer support, at least in the very beginning, until you automate that and find somebody else to do that for you, you want to know about the customer. So if you click on customer, you can see who is subscribed. You can learn more about them. Of course, how many orders they had, how much they spent. If somebody's a top spender, you could reach out to them personally. Maybe you could give them like a free little thing or something like that. It's kind of nice to have that information set up here within customers. Then if we click on content, we've got our meta objects right here. That's going to be things like size guides, things like cart upsells, different things like that that kind of are a little more three-dimensional, a little more dynamic on your website. I am not going to be setting that up at the moment. I don't think it's entirely necessary, but it is something that if you have the time, I would definitely recommend experimenting with that. Going down to finances, you can see how things are performing, the sales, the profit, the margins, and it breaks down a lot more as you start to earn more. They show you more information, like up here, for example, as well as payouts, credit, bill pay, and stuff like that. And that is a totally separate tab from analytics. Analytics is much more based on how your website performs. So how many sessions there are, which is how many people visit your website, that is, how long they spend on your website, what their conversion rate is. So do people end up getting stuck by adding to the cart? Do they end up clicking twice and then they don't purchase? Like, you want to know where you can be more efficient, and this is going to be your lens into a more efficient website. So identifying like where people are coming from, what kind of device they're using for one right here, which, as I said, desktop, as expected, is a really massive minority. Most people are viewing this on mobile, but things like that, you really want to make sure that you're understanding exactly how your website's being used, who's using it, and what's working and what's not working, so you can optimize in the future. Going down to marketing, this is a massive category. So we kind of set up a little bit with Omnisend, and we'll get back to Omnisend in just a second, but within here, within marketing, of course, campaigns is one. We don't really need this because we do have Omnisend. And automations, this is also something that we will be setting up through Omnisend. So abandoned cart recovery, that's an automation that will go back to Omnisend. We're going to set that up in a second, but you can see some information about it within the marketing insights here. So reach, sessions, orders, and sales, of course, kind of a little bit redundant, but it's kind of just reorganized within this tab right here. We talked about discounts already. We talked about our sales channels, but if we go down to apps, let's go to all recommended apps. I've only mentioned a couple in this video so far: Facebook, TikTok, Omnisend, and Gelato. But of course, within here, you can really browse quite a few other apps. If we click on the Shopify App Store on the bottom, and one of the reasons, like I said earlier on, that we like to use Shopify so much is that there are just so many integrations out there. If you want to sell on Pinterest and have it very natively embedded within there, there's an app you can add to Shopify for Pinterest. Scrolling down, you'll see there are quite a few others that are like new and trending, so I recommend checking these out. This could be workflow automation with Zapier. That could maybe say like, hey, anytime this happens, anytime there's an order, I want this little sequence of events to happen. And it could be anything. Like somebody could place an order and like a little light bulb could flash in your office. Like it really is, Zapier is pretty impressive on how really intense it can be. Like you can set up some massive automations. Honestly, I could have an entire video just about Zapier. You could really nerd out about that one for a while. Pretty cool how that stuff works. Going down, Google and YouTube. Obviously, if you want to run Google ads or anything with YouTube, setting up that sales channel and Google Shop is going to be really powerful. So at the very least, I'm going to add this now. I don't think, like, this video is already getting long, so I'm not going to go through the setup on Google and YouTube right here on setting that up, but more or less what you would end up doing once you install this app. They do give you kind of a checklist. So we connect the Google account. You could either make a new Google account, which I highly recommend doing. For one, because you want to make sure that the Google account associated with your domain is not taken by somebody else. You don't want other people to spoof you and end up emailing people on like what seems like it is you and scamming them, because people don't always realize it's not you, and ultimately they can be mad. So I usually do that. Like if I'm going to make this business, I might claim santrellmerchshop@gmail.com, even though that's not the main email I plan on using for customer service and stuff like that. I would claim it, and maybe that's the one that you would connect to this, for example. Let's click on the little pin so we have that available there as well. Let's go back to Omnisend now. Let's see if this was set up. If I verify the records, hopefully it's working. Okay, it's still going to take more time. Like I said, it could take up to 24 hours. So I'm going to close out of this. We'll come back to that a little bit later. It's still going to be there, and it's going to be working in the background to do that. But let's go back to our automations, or our dashboard rather, and I want to set up an abandoned cart recovery, like I said. So right here, we can launch that workflow, and we could say abandoned cart recovery. Hey, if somebody puts it in their cart and they end up not purchasing it, maybe we want a really strong incentive. We can make it 15%. So we'll continue setup, and we could say, no, let's only do this by email. We don't need to text them as well. So we're going to start this workflow. And this one should be really similar to what we saw with the welcome email. So we could say, show my workflows. abandoned cart recovery, as we have right here, it's sent 1 hour after the customer starts their checkout if they don't actually purchase, if it's an abandoned cart. So if we click on that, you can see the workflow right here. So the trigger is going to be they place, essentially they're placing an order, but they don't actually do that. You can see that the items in your cart are selling fast. That's going to be the email that we send them, and you can customize this if you wanted to. So edit content, for example, this is what it looks like. Shows a bunch of products down here. We can say complete order. Honestly, like Omnisend does a lot right. I'm not going to customize that. I think that looks just fine. We could also send a test email to see how it works. I'm going to test it out on my own more organically just to see if it identifies everything properly and actually emails me within, I believe, a couple hours. So wait another 11 hours and then send another email and it says your cart misses you, and then wait 12 more hours and do 1/3 attempt where we are giving them a 15% discount. So if you think that is too many emails, you could delete some of them. You could move the sale up a little earlier. You can rearrange this however you want. But more or less, this is what Omnisend has kind of developed for us that we didn't even have to do anything extra for. And so I trust this. I would really just run with it as it is without having to add anything else on the bottom. So I'm going to close out of that. And this, I mean, like I said, we just clicked a couple buttons. We chose the percentage and we chose like if we're using SMS or just email. And it set up the entire thing for us, which is really quite impressive. Now, there is a limit on how many emails we can send with Omnisend using the free version. So right now we have 499 emails left, and we only have $1 of SMS credit. So if you view the plus plans, just click on View Plus Plans, you'll see that you can pay monthly or pay yearly. It's $11 a month. So $11 is $11. It's not negligible by any means, but it is still, honestly, like I've used a lot of different email servers out there. A lot of them are a lot more expensive than this. And the functionality and integration and just how well this functions with Shopify, I think it's hands down worth it. I recommend getting Omnisend and upgrading this, choosing this plan. I would just pay yearly, honestly. You're saving money, $11 a month, and that'll give you a lot of great things like abandoned cart recovery, which could be substantially cheaper than, like, if you look at how much your cost per customer is, abandoned cart recovery is going to be way less than advertising to new potential customers. So for me, I think this is one of the best secrets you could have in your arsenal, one of the best ways to market to people.